They are the kindest, most sincere people I've ever been around, ever. Forget everything you've ever heard. After you go to Africa, you got to go to Ghana first, then you need to go to Botswana, because you need to see Botswana is the second richest diamond producer nation in the world. Them black people over there got something. And then you got to go to Johannesburg. That's what you got. You got to do that jump right there. Once you see that, you'll understand who we are. Them Africans ain't stole nothing from us. They talk about Burna Boy stole this. No, we stole from Burna Boy. Them Africans is us, man. They the beat, they the rhythm, they the soul, they the hard work. We get our courage from them. When you see them people, they look just like your family. They walk like us, they look like us, they got moves like us. It's just, you gotta see it. And my goal is to help bridge this gap, because we got to touch base with them, because they love y'all, man. You don't even know. They think y'all to catch me out. They think y'all to lick. You know why? Because they know what you went through. They know where them slave ship picked you up at. They know they brought you to a land. They know what they did to you. And y'all still over here shining. If we take this shine back over there and give them the love and teach them that dust, we'd have a powerful union.
The door is now open for all Black Americans to move back home to Africa and learn about their ancestral roots. Because of this traps in economy, a lot of Black Americans, they have started realizing that they are not American, and they started doing their DNA test to find out exactly where in Africa they belong. Someone like Ludacris, he did his DNA test to find out exactly where he belonged, and he moved back to Africa in Gabon with his wife. Right now he's living in Africa. And also Sierra also moved back to Benin. She did a DNA test to find out exactly where in Africa she belonged, and she found out that she belonged in Benin, and now she is living in Benin. All these people, they thought that they are Americans. And also Kelly, she moved back to Kenya. Now she has 300 acres of land, and she is living in Kenya. So you need to do your DNA test and find out exactly where in Africa you belong. If you're from Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore is going to give you a land. He is going to build for you a house and also give you a business. So find out where exactly you belong.
Hello good people, I hope that you are doing fine from any place in the world that you are watching today's video from. So in the recent years, you've noticed that a lot of Black Americans are leaving the US for Africa. This is not because the US changed, but these people are tired of racism, they are tired of being discriminated, and they are also tired of fighting to be accepted in a country which was built by their ancestors. Most of them say that whenever they reach Africa, they feel like they don't need to explain themselves or identify themselves. They feel that sense of belonging, and they have peace of mind. In Africa, many Black Americans say when they first meet people, they are friendly and they don't ask a lot of questions. Countries like Ghana, Kenya, and also Rwanda and Senegal have become popular because of different business opportunities. Others like Tanzania, they are good places to stay because of the climate. This movement is not about running away from the US, but it's about choosing a dignity, connection, and a better quality of life. Welcome back to Polito Realities, a channel where we talk honestly about global politics, Black identity, and America as well. If you want to listen to deep discussions, real talk, and unfiltered perspectives, then this channel is for you. Remember to take a minute to subscribe, to like, and to share today's video.
I get asked all the time, why would you leave the USA to come to Africa? Or specifically Namibia, if it's a Namibian asking. I realize a lot of people don't know the experience of what a Black American looks like. But the first answer is it's spiritual. This is the land that my ancestors are from. I am from African ancestry, and this is where I believe I belong. My ancestors came from here. They didn't come because they wanted to be in America. They came because they were taken as captives, prisoners of war. And that is a different thing than if they had decided, if my ancestors said, I love America, I love this land, I want to go there. Maybe that's a different thing. Maybe I'd have a different spirit about it. But at this point, I felt a deep spiritual call, and my husband as well. We felt a deep spiritual call to be in this land. And it was a spiritual call we could not deny for any conveniences that we might have had in the States. So we achieved the American dream in the States. We worked very hard. We both came from families that were hardworking people that had to work from the bottom to the, to get to college and to achieve our dreams. And then we were able to save up enough money to be able to make this move, which is expensive and risky. And it takes a lot of money to do that. But we achieved the American dream, and we took our American dream dollars and brought them to Africa to reinvest here. And that means a lot to us. And again, that's a very spiritual thing to do. And for those who don't really understand what it meant to be a Black American, I mean, it's very tough to tell that story in a TikTok. But America in and of itself is not the place it's propagandized to be. It's a place with a lot of challenges and problems. There's a lot of poverty in America. People in America are poor. They live on the concrete on the street, and it's illegal to live on the street. So they can be arrested for sleeping on the street. There are a lot of shootings and things like that. There's a lot of death that we witness to the point that we're desensitized to it. I remember taking my husband to my hometown, and we went to go visit my aunt. And across the street from my aunt, there was a clear crime scene. And I asked my aunt what happened. She's like, "Hey, baby, I'm so glad to see you guys. But good to see you too. But what happened across the street?" She said, "Oh, I think a little kid was killed. But I got some food for you." And I'm like, okay. We just kind of had to ignore it. And the whole time we're looking at each other like, there was a murder across the street. They're still sweeping it up. And she's just like, "Oh, yeah, it's fine. I'm glad you're here. I haven't seen you in years. I miss you." And I'm like, okay, this is America. This is what it looks like. I mean, it's all of the above. It's wealth, and it's extreme poverty, and it's murder. I remember going, I was hosting an event, and that morning I had to run. I was trying to rush to go get some sodas and stuff from Walmart. And there had been these news stories about this Walmart shooter. And I remember seeing the stories, but I was like, I still got to go to the grocery store. So I got up that morning to go to Walmart. And then I'm behind this car, and I'm like, what's going on? I'm so mad because I'm rushing. The police are pulling somebody over, and there's so many police I can't even get around it or something or anything. And then it turns out they open the trunk, and there's a bunch of big guns in the back of the car. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm behind the Walmart shooter on the way to Walmart. We were both on the way to the same store at the same time. Oh my gosh. That's life in America. That was life in Colorado, the birthplace of school shootings. And again, America has both of the things. It has beautiful things. It has places that are as beautiful as this, what I'm in right now. And it has places as dark as what you would think hell might look like. They literally have places named after hell in America. Rightly so, because they're dark places. So it goes it goes every direction in that country. So there's no one America. There's no one American experience. There's really no one Black American experience. So I say all that to just say, what you believe America is may not be accurate, and that is part of the reason people can't even believe why anybody would want to leave. Why would you want to leave the USA? It's got to be the best place ever. And it's, you know, it's not necessarily the best place ever. And then people that don't know about Africa will say, why would you go to Africa? You know, it's not a great place. Like, why? It's in poverty. It's, you know, a third world country. And I'm like, Africa has many countries. And it's not a third world continent. And even the third world has some amazing features and beauty and beautiful people and culture. And being third world, which is a very old concept, just means not like what you knew, not industrialized the way you knew it. Poverty exists just like it is in America. I have fed people on the street in America. I have seen starving children in America. And so I know that it exists in both places. So, you know, I'm not trying to minimize anything. I'm just trying to remind people that haven't been to Africa that there are many, many parts of Africa. There are many, many experiences in Africa, just like in the States. So just like in the States, you can be in poverty in the United States, have very little, live in a dilapidated house. You can in Africa live in poverty in a dilapidated house and scrimp and scrounge for food. You can also be very wealthy and live in a giant house and have an abundance of everything that you'd ever want living in Africa, and for a lot cheaper than you can get it in America. Just saying, you know. So the experiences that we're talking about, you know, there's diverse experiences everywhere. So don't discount, you know, the experience of a person and what guides and leads them. I'm guided by spirit. And so my guidance is in here, and my guidance tells me this is the place I need to be. This is my home. And I'm happy to be home.
People in West Africa are starting to live better than people in the Western world. Now, I'm not talking about everybody, but I'm talking about if you're well-to-do, if you're doing pretty good in your life, it's better to be doing really well in Africa than it is to be in America. Now, I'm currently in America, and it's like a little bit of a culture shock coming back from Africa, because when you come here, you're around people who, on paper, they're very successful, rich, and all that. But all these people are drowning in debt. They got a nice car, but they don't own it. They've got a lease on it. They may say that they own a house, but they kind of do, but they have a huge mortgage on it. But in Africa, people own everything outright. And what does this lead to, like, in day-to-day life? Well, when you know someone who's well-to-do in Africa, they're a lot more relaxed. They feel like they can go on trips with you. They're a lot more generous. People here, even though they may have a lot of money on paper in America, the second they let their foot off the gas, the second they stop hustling, those bills will catch up on them really quick. And it shows, like, kind of why I feel West Africa is the future, because here people are putting up an appearance of being rich, well-to-do, but it's fueled by debt, and it's fueled by them working 2 jobs. Husband and wife are both working high-paying jobs, 50 hours a week each, and doing all of that to just create this facade. Whereas in West Africa, once these guys have made it, they're living good lives. They're having that balance in life, and they're not killing themselves. So I think long-term, who am I betting on? I'm betting on the lifestyle of West Africa.
As policies continue to put pressure on African nations, many African Americans are making a different choice.
A growing number of African Americans say they are considering leaving the United States and relocating to...
While US politicians tighten their grip on Africa, while Washington pushes policies meant to shape the continent's future, something unexpected is happening in silence. Thousands of African Americans are quietly doing the opposite. They're not dreaming of the US anymore. They're not chasing the so-called American dream. Instead, they are packing their bags, selling their homes, and boarding one-way flights to Africa. Not for vacation, not for a short escape, but to start over, permanently. It's a movement nobody predicted, a reversal nobody prepared for, and yet it's growing faster than anything the world has seen in decades. Why would people leave one of the richest nations on Earth to return to a continent the West still labels as poor, unstable, and underdeveloped? Why now? Why Africa? Stay with us. because the answer will challenge everything you thought you knew about the American dream and Africa's future. To understand why thousands of African Americans are now returning to Africa, you must go back to where the story began, not in airports or embassies, but 400 years ago on the shores of West Africa. It was 1619, the year the first enslaved Africans were torn from their homeland, ripped from their families, and shipped across the Atlantic. What followed became the largest forced migration of a single race in human history. Millions stolen, millions lost, millions who never saw home again. For centuries, their descendants would grow up in a land that promised freedom yet delivered discrimination. A place where slavery ended on paper, but its shadow never disappeared. Laws changed, but the system didn't. Rights were granted, but equality remained out of reach. And for generations, African Americans were taught one message: Africa is behind you. America is ahead of you. Africa was painted as primitive, dangerous, hopeless, a place to escape from, not return to. But then came 2019, Ghana's year of return, a spark, a reminder, a door quietly opening after 4 centuries, and when that door opened, something began to shift. Because what happened next was not migration. It was a spiritual awakening, a reversal no one saw coming, a reversal that would explode into a movement after one event that shook the entire world, and that's where our story turns. But before we continue, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more powerful stories. For many African Americans, the decision to leave the United States didn't begin with passports or paperwork. It began with silence, the kind of silence that lives inside you when every day feels like walking on a battlefield. Sanjaya Davis knew that silence too well. On paper, she had everything America promised: a good job, education, connections, stability. She was living the picture-perfect version of the American dream. But inside, she carried a fear she couldn't shake. Every time she stepped out of her house, a question stalked her like a shadow. If I'm pulled over today, will I make it home alive? It wasn't paranoia, it was history, embedded in her DNA. The trauma of centuries, from the transatlantic slave trade, to the Tulsa massacre that displaced her own family, to the everyday racism she faced in modern America. Then came 2020, a knee on a neck, a life taken.
Oh yeah, but definitely come to Kenya. Kenya, I'm telling you, as soon as you get there, you probably will never come back to America.
I've heard that a lot.
I don't know if you've seen those YouTube. I don't expose their names because I don't know if they want to. But anyway, they got these YouTube channels that like those who used to live in America. They actually moved back to Kenya.
I be seeing them on my feed on Instagram, and they be talking about like, yo, come to this country.
Yeah.
Everything costs so much less money.
Yeah.
The beautiful women out here are so friendly, and everything's so nice. And I live in this fucking 2,000 square foot, 3-bedroom condo in the middle of downtown for $400 a month. I'm just like, you know, all that.
I never, ever thought about that. It never crossed my mind. Even when I bought the land or got the gifted land, I just thought I would leave it to my grandchildren or something like that. I wasn't really thinking that I was going to move here. At 16, I got pregnant and I had my son. And so that kind of put a damper on my aspirations to go to college and things like that. The Most High brought me through it all, right? So when I was like 28, I had been living really a rough life by that time. And but when I was 28, I went to a church and I walked in like a drug addict and an alcoholic, and I walked out free. You know, when I came here, it was like that. I finally felt grounded, you know, instead of like, oh, my history goes back to being a slave. That was the only history we had, was going back to being a slave. One of the worst things was that I had shipped over my gold that I had purchased over the years, and it was gone.
Wow. How much good was it?
Over $20,000. Okay, so you know, like when a lot of times people will quote you a cost, and so you think that's it. Because like in the States, right? If they tell you it's $100,000, you sign on the dotted line, that's it. Yeah. But in Ghana, it was different. So, you know, it's like, no, that was just for this part. Now you got to pay for this part. Now you got to buy your doors. Now you got to buy your windows. I'm like, What? I just had a lady text me a couple of days ago, and she had just come back. She went to see her mom too for her birthday, and she was there for, I think she said, for 6 weeks. And she said, I could not wait to get out of there. She said, because it's so different. She said, there was a shooting at the grocery store while I was there. There was, somebody had robbed somebody at the bank or something, and somebody had been beaten on the street. And she said, and my mom's neighborhood is not a bad neighborhood, but it's going down. And she said, I just couldn't wait to leave. She said, it just like the people, was just what she said to me. The people are like zombies. They're like, their eyes, you know, they don't seem to have life anymore. Everybody's just barely hanging on. And to keep it real, white people do a lot more drugs than black people do. They just don't get in trouble. I even had a lady say one time that, what kind of grandmother are you that you would leave your grandchildren and move to another country?
What? Hello, good people. Welcome back again to today's discussions. And honestly, let's talk about something that is making a lot of people uncomfortable, but also very curious. Why are Black Americans suddenly leaving the United States for Africa? This conversation is not about emotions alone, but it's about the history, reality, and choices. For generations, Black Americans were told that America is a land of opportunity. Yes, that may be true, but Americans feel that the cost of living has been high. Discrimination is also high, racism is also high, and they need to explain themselves in a land which was actually built by their ancestors. Many Black Americans say, I am tired of surviving, I need to live. Africa offers something that America doesn't, and that is a sense of belonging. When Black Americans arrive in African countries, they are not asked for proof. They are not treated outsiders because of their skin color. For the first time, they say they feel invisible in a good way. Like Ghana has become a major symbol of movement during the year of return. That moment reminded Black Americans that Africa is not just a place of poverty and struggle like the Western media has been portraying it. It is a place of history, a place of pride, innovation, and opportunities. It's not like just Ghana alone. Let's take a look at Kenya. Kenya is attracting a lot of entrepreneurs and creatives. Rwanda is also attracting a lot of professionals and investors. Tanzania, South Africa also have played a major role in shaping Africa. These countries offer growing economics, lower cost of living, and a room to build something that is meaningful. Another big reason is mental freedom. In America, race never sleeps. In Africa, race is not your daily identity crisis. You are simply a person, you are a neighbor and a community member. This doesn't mean that Africa is actually perfect. It has other challenges as well, like any other place. But Africa is a place where people don't need to explain themselves as in America. Black Americans say they would rather deal with familiar struggles among people who look like them rather than living in countries where they need to be questioned every day. There is also a spiritual side of this movement. Some Black Americans say being in Africa healed something that they didn't even know was broken. The food, the music, the rhythm of life, it feels so familiar, and even if they can't explain it, they just feel it. Now let's be clear. This is not everyone. Millions of Black Americans still live in the United States. This is not just a mass escape from the US. It is a choice movement. You decide that this is enough and let's move out. So you make a choice that best works for you. The message is simple. We deserve peace, we deserve dignity and connection. And this movement is quietly growing, not loudly, not angrily, but intentionally. Africa is no longer just the past for Black Americans. For many, it's becoming a future. You have been watching Polito Realities, a space where we handle real stories, we have real conversations. Until next time, be informed and be grounded.